Good evening. I'm Eugene Chan on Straight Talk, and our guest this week is the founder and group CEO of Hong Kong's largest fintech unicorn, WeLab, Simon Leung. As we dive into the past, present, and future of digital banking and Hong Kong's role in ASEAN fintech revolution, Mr. Leung will share with us how he turned a bold idea in 2013 into one of Asia's most influential digital finance platforms. A Stanford MBA and former Citibank executive, his work has earned him accolades like Asia's most influential and recognition as one of the 20 people shaping Hong Kong's future. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Eugene.
Simon, digital banking has been one of the major disruptors for the finance industry over the past decade. And in fact, the global market, as I researched, was valued at $143 billion in 2024 and is projected to grow over to $3 trillion by 2032. Perhaps you can help our viewers to understand what exactly is a digital bank. As I asked you earlier, we all use banking apps. Is that part of the digital banking?
Digital banking is a pretty new concept in the last 5 to 10 years. Basically, it is the same banking services but built completely online without any physical branches. The benefit of it is where there's no physical branches, plus it's built on the latest tech infrastructure. The cost is lower, you can serve the customers much faster with greater customer experience on your mobile phone. With a lower cost, customers benefit ultimately with lower cost of borrowing and more innovative service and adoption of the latest technology like AI.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you can give us a sort of a bird's eye view of the whole world. Is digital banking as popular as in Hong Kong, or Hong Kong is more popular than other places?
Digital banking has been picking up very fast across the world. If you look at one of the largest digital bank by market cap in Brazil, it's like 70 billion US, which is as big as the size of the top 4 banks combined in Thailand. In terms of adoption, there's around 8 digital banks in Hong Kong. Hong Kong MA was quite forward-looking. It's one of the first regulator in Asia to issue digital banking licenses. And then subsequently, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, other markets also are slowly issuing digital banking licenses during the last 3 to 4 years. If you look at Hong Kong has around 2 million digital bank accounts today, which accounts for roughly 40% of the 18 to 65-year-old population, which is quite a lot. And if you look at the adoption of Hong Kong, most people are actually quite comfortable with using digital banks for all kinds of their banking services today.
Right. Simon, since you're mentioning such a sort of a huge growth, or I will use the word exponential, what do you think from a perspective will be the actual driving force behind it? Is it the changing consumer behavior, even the regulatory system that allows it to happen, or just pure tech innovation?
I think there's a couple of areas, right? If you look at today, we use, especially after COVID, right? We use everything from ordering food, getting a ride, buying movie tickets completely with the ease of your mobile phone. And hence, asking us to use our mobile phone to get banking services is just part of our daily life, right? With better customer experience. The government has also been pushing for the use of digital banking in Hong Kong as well. For example, recently we changed the name for virtual bank to a digital bank in Hong Kong. Hong Kong also increased the deposit protection scheme from 500,000 Hong Kong dollars to 800,000 Hong Kong dollars to encourage the use of smaller and newer digital banks. So I think a lot of these from consumer behavior and also the government push are encouraging the use of digital bank across. The same in Southeast Asian markets. Southeast Asian markets, you can see that traditionally there's a very large underserved segments. If you look at it, right, today 60% of the Southeast Asian customers or population is either underbanked or unbanked. Now, underbanked means they have access to bank, but the banks itself, the services are not well catered for their needs. Unbanked means they don't even have a banking accounts. And for these markets, and most of them are very tech-savvy young adults, as we know, digital banking actually can give them better services through completely access through a mobile phone instead of visiting a branch.
Right. Just now you said that the banking license were issued in 2019 in Hong Kong, and there are 8 licenses being sort of issued. Is Hong Kong kind of more forward in Asia compared to the so-called the Western banking system? I mean, are we sort of ahead in Hong Kong?
Yes, we're definitely ahead of the game. Thankfully, we issued earlier, hence we attracted the talent and also people and the capital to build digital bank. And WeLab is one of the beneficiary of that. We got our WeLab Bank, a digital bank that is operated by WeLab in Hong Kong. We are one of the largest and also the only profitable digital bank in Hong Kong. In terms of, we focus a lot on personal lending, personal loan. We're the top 3 personal loan lender in Hong Kong. Around 16% market share. That means 1 in 6 people who borrow money in personal loan in Hong Kong borrow from us. And that actually allow us to build a lot of our technology know-how and allow us to, with that, scale to multiple markets. For example, our second digital bank in Indonesia, Bank Saku, we're able to build that in a record time of only 6 months.
Right.
And that allows us, it's hence a lot cheaper as well. And we learn from a lot of the mistakes and the good and the bad from what we learned in Hong Kong and scale to Indonesia.
Right. So Sam and I it's very happy to have you here today because we kind of look at a story from a bold idea like 12 years ago, and you turn into, being founding in 2013, as I just said, in 12 years, you're now the largest Hong Kong fintech company with sort of footprint over 70 million individual users across Hong Kong, mainland China, and Indonesia, you just mentioned. What is your aspiration for future WeLab growth? Because in 12 years, 70 million customers is definitely a very high number. And what is the secret of the success, as you can see?
I think capturing the right market opportunity is extremely important. We started off building our technology for online lending. It's just purely based on lending. And I think we were one of the first online lending platforms in Hong Kong, where we entered into the mainland China business, mainland China market in 2014. We were one of the first mobile-based lender in mainland China. And in Hong Kong, we are one of the first digital bank as well. And I think understanding the market, capturing the opportunity is very, very important. We always joke with our colleagues that if we want to do exactly the same thing but only start now, we'll never be able to make it. I think that's number one. Number two is, when we look at the industry we're in, financial services, we ask ourselves, we're in an industry where historically has been dominated by capital and scale. And we can't, and it's a market, it's an industry where our competitors boasted like hundreds and thousands of employees, more than a century of history. So when we compete in this market, we need to compete in a way that we can win. And what we find the winning formula is with technology. How do we leverage on technology to leapfrog and innovate the industry so that we can win?
Right. Just now you mentioned like 40% of the users are with the younger generation, which is more tech savvy compared to the general more elderly population. So what is the advantages? You've talked to us about the advantages of digital banks for sure. You must have your limitations. I'm sure the viewers are going to ask. What are your limitations?
I think our limitation is always like the capital to grow faster and time. I think there's a massive opportunity out there, be it in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, with what we've built. We just need the time and more capital to scale it further.
You said you started like 12 years ago. Say if I ask you, what is something that you can see that you can do today that was in digital banking as compared to 12 years ago is impossible? Can you give us some examples?
I think it's a lot of interesting things that we are doing today that we have never imagined we can do 12 years ago. If you look at the use of AI, how we can use AI to do risk underwriting, fraud detection, all the way to predictive, I think those technology was not as readily available in the past. And if you look at more recently with generative AI, I think that's also an area that is helping us to look at how do we serve the customers completely with the computer in a humanistic language.
Right. Yes, Simon, in a fully digital banking world, I can just imagine yourself looking at like the tablet I'm looking into right now. It's through screens. There isn't any handshakes, or there isn't any coffee or any lunches at all. That's a traditional way of build trust and loyalty. How are you going to achieve that without all our usual ways? How do you achieve that?
I think that's very interesting. I think how we build trust with organizations has changed and evolved over time as well in the last couple of years. It's no longer with a human handshake or seeing them face to face. It is more by building them a good customer experience, reputable product, and credibility. I mean, a few years ago, I was chatting with one of the bank's CEO in Hong Kong. That bank is famous for having branches and serving customers very well. And he said, Simon, you have no branches. How do you serve your customers well? If they have a question about a product, they don't know who to ask.
Right.
I said, this is exactly the difference between a digital bank and a conventional bank. For us, we want to design a product that is so friendly in user experience that they do not have to call me or ask anyone. Right. They should be able to do everything by themselves and self-service. That is what we think is how we build good trust in the future.
Right, Simon. We all know that when sort of things are happening with growth, there are always sort of risk coming through. Like recently in Hong Kong, we have a lot of deception cases. We will talk more about that after the break, but I'm just going to start to ask you. It is estimated that individual customers in Asia has collectively lost about $700 billion US in 2024 in digital scams. So how do digital banks like yourself going to combat fraud while keeping the user experience seamless? We'll come back to this after the break. And viewers, do stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back. We have been exploring the digital banking revolution with Mr. Simon Leung, founder and CEO of WeLab, Hong Kong's homegrown fintech giant that is redefining digital banking across Asia. So Simon, in the first half, you have explained to the viewers what digital banking is, how it has grown so exponentially in the last few years. And my last question to you before the break is, how are you going to combat all this potential deception or fraud that is getting so prevalent in Hong Kong as well?
Yes, online financial crime is a very serious issue across the world, in fact. If we look at, for us, right, we have never met any of our customers face-to-face. We have 70 million customers. We've never met them face-to-face. So developing technology to catch financial crime is extremely important for us. I think we've always had a principle that we should catch a crime before it happens, or if that fails, we should not let the second or the third repeat itself.
Right.
And we've developed a lot of interesting technology in what we call KYC, know your customers. So how do we actually know the customers even if we do not meet them face-to-face? Historically, it's rely on Hong Kong ID, looking at your face, matching it. That's one data point. How do we actually collect multiple data points digitally so that we cross-verify individuals to catch anomalies? I can give you a very interesting example. When you open up a digital bank account, you take a selfie, right? And what we have found is a lot of these fraud happen is because there is a syndicate who recruit innocent people to take selfies and provide information. They'll open up a bank account on your behalf. But those usually happen, for example, during COVID, employment agencies, people who don't have a job, right? And when they take a selfie, we discover that there's similarity in the background behind them because they all go to the office of a recruitment agency. So we develop an AI to catch similarity, not just in the face of individuals, but the background of the selfie you've taken to catch anomaly and concentration of these data points and IP address and GPS location. So there's a lot of interesting things we can do.
Right, and we often see all these deepfakes, and people are saying, don't believe what you see anymore. Or even, as you have just said, is the technology keeping up with all these new theft initiatives?
In fact, I think the fraudster adoption of AI is even faster than banks.
That's why I'm asking this question.
And yes, it is true. I think the cost to produce deep fakes and also these fake profiles and IDs have greatly accelerated and cost has reduced. So what we're looking at is how do we actually make it even more expensive for fraudsters to use this, what we call mule accounts, to combat financial crime. Just last week, I was in Bangkok and we signed a MOU with the Royal Thai Police in terms of how do we actually share information to catch these mule accounts, financial crime scams together.
Right. Also, I've been reading that in Hong Kong, they have issued a new sort of initiative called Money Safe function. That means if people can, once they put the money into the bank account, it's been locked and it's been very safe. And you can't really withdraw unless you actually go to the bank yourself. With the digital bank, do you find that challenging to you because you don't have that facility to sort of meet the customer in person and unlock their deposits? I mean, how do you respond to that?
I think what we're looking at is we need to keep the customer's money safe irrespective of whether you see that person face to face. I think that's very important for the modern day financial services, right? And that comes with a lot of technology and data in terms of verifying the customer ID and even transaction monitoring, whether there are fraudulent transactions going in and out of the bank account. So we see a lot of these. I think why digital banks is so important in the middle of these catching financial crime is when a financial crime happens, most of the time, actually the money get wired to a bank account. Hence, it is so important to catch these fraud from a bank account perspective.
I see. And since you have been quite familiar with all these possible fraudulent activities, are our regulations keeping up to date enough? Because Hong Kong being an international financial center, you being one of the major fintech company, and people they trust in Hong Kong's laws and regulations. Is our government or is our authority doing a good enough job to support the expansion of the business?
I think authorities are always doing their best, but I think as industry, we cannot rely on a regulatory change in order to combat these issues. Mm-hmm. I think the market players come together, from regulators, the police force, and the banks, and other participants and stakeholders come together to combat these crimes in a helpful basis. Mm-hmm. That's how we see a successful ecosystem of combating these crimes across markets.
Mm-hmm. Simon, as you know, that Hong Kong now, we are sort of facing a lot of challenges, and technology is something that our motherland wants us to concentrate, and being an IFC, as I've just said, is a perfect way to sort of, I won't say attack, but to expand mm-hmm. Hong Kong's image, especially among Southeast Asia. And you've now been to Indonesia. I'm sure other Asian countries in time to come. I know the Hong Kong IC, the Hong Kong Investment Corporation, has invested into WeLab, and this is, our government is sort of betting on your successes. So how are you going to lead this sort of credit on your back? How are you plan to expand Hong Kong's financial savviness and also our trustworthiness to the rest of Asia, especially we want to maintain, or even better still, even stronger financial center?
I agree. With the backdrop of the increasing global trade tension, right? I think we are looking at how do we build closer ties with our neighbors. For example, the ASEAN countries. They are a fantastic opportunity with tech-savvy young adults and a booming economy. And as a Hong Kong-based companies, I feel that going in with a financial services digital bank, that is our best proposition, because that is what we're well known for. And we actually feel exactly the same when we go and meet with local partners and regulators as well. As a regulated digital bank in Hong Kong, go and meet with partners, regulators, and also customers, right? People feel that we can bring in a lot of our know-how. We're very grateful for the government support recently with the Hong Kong IC's investment to further our Southeast Asia expansion and adoption of AI into banking. I think these will greatly increase the speed of our adoption. Right now, we're operating a bank in Hong Kong, a second in Indonesia, and also we're looking at the third license in Thailand, and we're also looking at other Southeast Asian markets like Vietnam, Philippines. I think these have great potential for us to build the first Pan-Asia digital bank out of Hong Kong.
Well, I think it's indeed very encouraging to see the government partnering with the private sector, moving into, especially into the region and making Hong Kong even more important. Being somebody who's going to a new place, no matter how good you are, you have to face local challenges. What niche do we have as compared to those local digital partners, as I would call them?
I think what we're looking at is a partnership model in any market that we enter into. For example, Indonesia, we partner with one of the largest local conglomerate, Astra. In Thailand as well. In every market, we're looking at the partners. What we look at is how do we bring in the best of both worlds, right? I think for us, we can bring in a very strong track record of running and building digital banks. We're one of the first digital banks to break even in Hong Kong. Indonesia, we're one of the fastest scaling digital bank in Indonesia with 2.5 million customers. It's just over a year time. When we go to the next market, we look at how do we actually transfer a lot of historical know-how, technology, the mistakes we made, the good things we did into different markets, and combined with the local partners, local network, access to local currency, existing customer base, right? I think we can find very interesting and rewarding chemistry.
Simon, I'm sure the viewers from Straight Talk, we know that geopolitics is one thing that we talk about all the time and is making the world a brand new place. Do you see this geopolitics actually sort of assisting your work or actually hindering your work? Because I mean, it's more than just business now. It's all politics. How do you see that?
I think it's very interesting. As the scale of WeLab increases over time, we also feel the impact of geopolitics affecting our business. I think what we're seeing a couple of effects, right? There's a pros and the cons. The pros, as I shared earlier, during this period, I think we are all trying to build closer ties with our neighbors. We're trying to do more business with them. But of course, the cons is with the increasing geopolitics, the tariff, what is impacting is economy, local economy over trade. And these actually impact the credit performance of the local borrowers. And hence, we're always a little bit cautious when we enter into the loan business in different markets.
Right, just something out of the mind, right, out of the blue. I'm just thinking that since you are sort of tapping, as you call it, unbanked or underbanked customers in the ASEAN countries, how can you sort of be a bridge between them and other businesses from Hong Kong? Because you already have their identities, and how are you going to bridge them together?
I think there's a lot of interesting things we can do. Like, for example, right, remittance. We look at how do we do cross-border remittance at a much lower cost. We're looking at financial inclusion, where we can help them to provide very low-cost, efficient financial services, and with that, they can learn how to manage, build, and grow their wealth over time. Many young people across Asia, right, they are looking at how to, we need to educate them how to build their wealth. Most of them, unfortunately, during COVID time, they learn how to invest through social media. Yes. And it's not exactly the best source of information. But we need to tell them how do they spend time in the market and also diversify their investment so that they can save and grow their hard-earned salary.
Simon, you have painted a sort of bold vision for Hong Kong as a ASEAN fintech bridge. How do you see the future of money? I mean, do we still need traditional banks?
I think in the future it will be a combination of it. Traditional banks still play a very important part as a foundation, and also there are people who still need branches to be served, right? I think digital bank will play a second part of it, which is for tech-savvy young people, or for example, people who work in a gig economy, right? They have multiple jobs in their life. They may be a driver during the day, they may deliver food at night, and then operate an e-commerce shop. Right. They have a very different financial needs versus someone who take a 9-to-5 salary. We've built financial products like that to cater for their needs in Indonesia. That works very, very well.
Well, Simon, you know, Hong Kong fintech world is getting more and more competitive. If I'm going to ask you to give a word of advice to our potential upcomers in fintech, what will you tell them?
I would tell them to try new things. I mean, I think one of the best advice I've received when I started a business is to get out of my comfort zone. I've always remembered the word, get as uncomfortable as you're comfortable with.
Right.
Through doing new things, going to new markets, we've seen how we can expand into trying new heights and new markets.
Right. Thank you, Simon, for help us to understand more about the digital banking world. There isn't just changing finance, it is also reshaping Hong Kong's role in Asia's economic future. As an international financial center, our city is ideally placed and ready to partner with ASEAN nations in shaping their digital banking and fintech future. Until next time, I'm Eugene Chan, and thank you for watching Straight Talk.